Hello, 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 hello. This is Charlie Newton, your art teacher for Splash Live art class. I'm glad to see you again. I hope you've had an awesome day today. Before we get started, I want to remind you to have compassion and wear your mask. The coronavirus is escalating. It's getting much worse in our city, so let's think of others first, okay? All right, so today we're going to have a very interesting class. We're going to draw a face. Last time we used pastels, oil pastels. We're not using chalk at this time, but we use oil pastels, which is very difficult to use. And we looked at a friend of mine, artist Frank Smith, and we did an abstract drawing using African shapes. Today we're going to use the same material. We're going to use pastels, but we're going to draw a face. I found the face of a gentleman, a black man, and he looks very happy. And so we're going to just draw this face, okay? So I don't know. Every time I draw a picture, I'm discovering. Every time I draw a picture, I'm problem solving. So you will be problem solving too. So we're going to problem solve together. So we're going to draw this picture and I'm going to try to guide you through it. I'm just showing you a technique that you can use. You don't have to use, you can use your own techniques. But this is just one way of approaching this picture. So if you're ready, let's get started. So get your box of pastels out. Splash students, you have the same pastels that I'm going to use. And you can use your watercolor paper for this. Okay. So let's use a pencil. Normally, if I was going to draw the face, I wouldn't use a pencil because I like to keep the materials the same. And we're going to start at the top of the paper and we're going to draw a large circle. We're going to sketch a circle. So do not dig the pencil down into the paper. You can use an H pencil or a 2B pencil. It doesn't matter. But we want to draw a circle and try to make it round. We're just trying to figure out where the face is going to be. We're not doing an oval this time to draw this face because I'm going to break the face up into two shapes this time. And the reason being, he has a nice smile and I'm going to try to get that smile using these two shapes. So you're going to do a large circle, sketch it in. So it's not like one line. You see I have several lines. And those of you who've been taking classes with me, you know, you can see how I'm holding the pencil. Now we're going to intersect that circle with another circle. The top of this second circle is sort of like almost in the center of this circle. So we have overlapping circles. And hopefully this will help us get the shape of his jaws. I'm really impressed with his smile. So I think that one of the easiest ways is to use two circles. You might just draw one egg shape and then try to express the smile through his circle. Now, let's draw through the center of this first circle a straight line. Well, the line really, it arches a little bit. Well, let's make it straight. Let's draw a straight line, sketch a straight line in. sketch lightly. Okay, we may just erase some of these lines just to make sure before we start with the pastels. Then sketch a line straight down the center, like this. Now, when you're drawing a face, every face is different, so you have to approach each face a little bit different. So we have 2 circles. At the top of this second circle, we have a straight line. We need a lot of room for this guy's forehead. And his forehead may go up a little higher when I finish this drawing. Okay, I'm going to start by drawing his left eye. Well, it's his right eye, but it's to our left. I'm just going to draw in the shape of that eye. And I'm trying to find out the size of this eye. So I have to look at it. I keep looking. I look at the picture. My picture here, I look at this picture more than I look at the paper. If I was drawing from life, if I had a person sitting here, if he was sitting here, I would look at the person more than my paper. So my face, if you can see, I'm going to show you what my head is doing. So when I'm looking at you now, I'm looking at my drawing. When I turn, I'm looking at the model. I'm looking at the person who I'm drawing. So this is how my head would be moving as I'm doing this drawing. So you notice I'm looking at the model more than my paper, and I'm also looking at the model longer than my paper.
Do that again.
So I'm going to do it again. When I'm looking at you, you represent the paper, my drawing. When I look off, that represents the model. So now I'm looking at the model, looking at the drawing. Model, trying to figure out what am I looking at. I'm asking myself questions. What's the shape of that eye? Now I put a few lines down. Now look back at the model, make sure I'm doing it right. Look at the paper. Look back at the model, look at the paper. Back at the model. My head continuously moves, but I spend more time looking at the model. When I think I have things sort of figured out, I may look at the paper longer. Okay. So now I'm trying to decide the size of his eyes. His eyes aren't so large. So I'm going to slim this guy down. I'm going to measure the eye. The distance between the eyes is another eye. So I put the corner of my pencil here on the corner of his eye, and I use my finger to say this is where the inside of the eye ends. Ultimately, though, I'm drawing this part here where his nose begins. So I don't want to, since we're doing all pastels, I want it to look like pastels. I'm sketching in the circle for the eyeball. So I'll draw another eye here, and his eye starts here. I'm going to get the shape of his eyes later. His eyes have a certain shape, partly because of his age. As we age, our body begins to look different. See the circle for the eyeball. Now, I'm going to bring his head in to about right here. I can change that later. And on this side, his head is going to. You can actually see more, a little bit more of this side of his face. So this is, on this side of his face, this is where the head is going to end. Now I'm going to measure the nose. First I'm going to eye it in. I think his nose is going to be around here, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to measure the nose. This is the angle of the nose. I'm drawing a straight line straight down from the corner of this eye. I'm putting my pencil on this angle, so that nostril might be right there. A lot of things in drawing and art, you have to practice, and you will begin to see more and see better. So ultimately, it's going to be, what does it look like to you? The corner of his eye goes up, and his eyelids sort of fold over. The top of his eyelid is you have skin folding over that, and you see that a lot with age. And you see that with people who weigh a certain amount. So when I'm scanning this picture with my eyes. So you get used to trying to draw what you see. And I'm willing to make changes. So that's why I'm sketching. I'm going to make most of my changes with the oil pastels. Now, there's a line that comes back around like that, around his nostrils. Every artist, you develop your own style. And my style is sort of loose. And I get joy in really giving myself problems and then solving the problem. And in my mind, in my opinion, what happens is that as you solve your problems, you're leaving little landmarks for the viewer to see. So they can see how you actually felt. Why am I drawing this picture? What do I like about the picture? I can't express that with my mind. I can only express that with my art. So art is a different language. It's a visual language. So I'm talking by drawing. So his eyes are going to be a little squinted. Now, this is what I want to do with his cheeks. He has his cheeks make him look very nice, like a nice person. But the reason why I want to draw this picture, two reasons. I like his smile, and I just want to see what the oil pastels was going to do. I'm doing his eyebrows. They're thin, but they're sort of wide. See, I'm just indicating his eyebrows. Now, if I drew this picture, if I was doing this for my personal art that I would show in a museum or a gallery, I would not sketch it with a pencil. Because when I'm doing a portrait, I really want to get at something else. I want to do more than a camera could do. So now I'm trying to see this, there's a triangle right beneath the nose, and I'm trying to measure that space, trying to determine what that space is. This is the top of his lips. There's an S curve there. With a picture, you can sort of like almost, you can even draw on the picture if you want to decide where the corner of this guy's mouth is going to wind up. See how this is like a bird flying S curve. His lips are thin. So I'm going to draw the bottom of his top lip. There's always a little indentation there, or a lump on everybody's lip. This little mark here, this little V-like shape. Now, let me say this. Okay, for years, I actually did portraits. And this picture I'm drawing now, I know it's not going to be as good as my portraits. And I'll tell you why, how I know that. Because it takes me about 5 drawings to get back into portraiture. 10 drawings at the most. So when you haven't done something for a while, and I haven't done portraits for how many years? Quite a few years. Has it been 9 years? Did I stop doing portraits when we started Splash?
No.
I didn't? Okay.
You did it occasionally. You liked doing it so much that you did it.
But I stopped going to the markets and doing portraits, right?
I think so.
I think so, yeah. I'm trying to get the size of his teeth here. So anyway, this is, if I was doing this as a commission for somebody, and a commission is when somebody hire you to do a picture, it would take me longer than it's going to take me today, because I would continue to make changes and make changes. I can see now how, and the reason why we sketch is that your first mark is usually going to be wrong. My first mark is wrong most of the time. Now when I get back to get into the mood of doing portraits again, get used to doing that, then my marks are a little bit better. But really, we're just doing this sketch so that we can experiment with our pastels. So I'm just using this face to experiment with the pastels. But if this was a commission, if I was getting paid for it, I'll spend a lot more time on it than I'm going to today. It would go a lot slower. Not that much slower. It would take about twice the amount of time, maybe. But if I was doing portraits every day, it would take half the amount of time that it's going to take today, probably. Or maybe the same amount. See, I can see I'm making a lot of mistakes, and I can see these mistakes. I'm looking at little small details, but this is going to be good enough for what we're doing. Because what we're doing is I want you to experiment with using these oil pastels. They're very difficult, and that's why we're doing them. And remember last time I told you, when something is hard to do, I mean, we're in art class, so this is a great time to practice. I'm trying to draw every time the line curves, I'm trying to catch it. See his lip curves around a little bit. And I see my my posture isn't that great. Also, if I was drawing this picture for money as a commission, I would not be drawing on a table. I would have the picture up like this, perpendicular, horizontal rather. No, perpendicular to me. So I'm just trying to draw what I see now. And I'm still sketching because we're going to color over these with the pencil line with the pastel. So keep your pencil marks light, sort of light. I'm letting mine go dark so that you can see it. So his jaws, you can see how his jawbone sort of, it kind of sags because of the skin and the fat. He might, I have astigmatism, and my astigmatism is interfering with the way I'm placing this down on the paper. So I keep having to straighten up. So I'm trying to get, this is what I'm really interested in, the cheeks and the jaws. Now, with drawing, you can exaggerate. That's very important to remember. You can exaggerate what you think you see. See how I keep changing my lines? That's the value of sketching. See, this line here, I don't want that line. I want this one, and then this one. And I'm making little mental notes to myself. So I want to know, what is the distance between, see, I draw big eyes automatically because I have big eyes. So automatically I'm going to draw big eyes. We usually draw ourselves. I'm going to move my eyes over a little bit. This eye, I'm going to move it over. See how I'm making changes? I'm always problem solving. Now his ears are pretty small. I'll draw this ear. I know how an ear is made, so even though this is a dark picture, I know the ear come down to about, well, his ear. You can't see you can see a little bit of his earlobe here, which comes down to about the bottom of his nose here. You see a little bit of his earlobe, but not much of his, that would be his left earlobe, but it's to our right. His right earlobe is a little lower than the left one. I'm going to bring his head in a little bit. See, well, I'm making a lot of changes on this one, but that's why we sketch. Now, if I was drawing this as well, I would not have done the two circles. I did the two circles for you. I thought it might make it easier. Now his head is going to flow out of the paper because his head's going to go up higher on my picture. I need more space up here. So his head it falls out of the paper. So I'm going to show you. Move this down so his head really does something like that. See? So I just let it run off the page. Never try to fit stuff into anything into the sheet of paper. I think a lot of kids do that. Now I'm going to erase some of these lines in a minute. Some of my sketch lines because I don't need them. This collar starts here and goes down. It's about that wide. See, that first line didn't work. So it's like, what does it look like to you? Now, the value, there are other ways you can always project. A lot of artists these days project their pictures, but that doesn't help you with your drawing technique. And when you get ready to express yourself in art, in painting and stuff like that, you know, if this person was somebody that meant something to me, if I was putting this in one of my major paintings, I don't want to project it. I don't want to make it easy. I want the struggle if there's going to be a struggle. But for me, when something means something to me, there's actually less of a struggle. Say, for instance, if I was drawing my mother, I think because I've seen her and I know her so well that it's a little bit easier for me to get the likeness. But for a person I don't know, it's more difficult. So the collar, there's a line that comes out at an angle like this, then the foreshortening, the collar comes toward the viewer, toward you. So these two lines get a little wider, then the collar folds down like that. That's a little button. So the more you do, the better you get. You heard me say that? It's the same for me. Now, I haven't been drawing that much. I've been mostly painting. And I paint more than I draw these days. And so my drawing gets lost in the painting. I draw with paint in a sense. But let's see if I can find my eraser. And so I'm going to show you, see these lines, fuzzy lines here? I don't need those. So I can erase them. I can always make changes. Now this part, the part we're going to do now, is you're not going to have much control, okay? I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not, in Splash classes, we are developing young artists, but the main thing is, even if you're not going to be an artist, we want you to use your brain, that creative side of you. The right side of your brain is where innovation comes from. So that part of your brain where you can experiment, all these, see how I'm erasing a lot of these sketch lines that I don't need anymore? We're going to cover them up. This pastel will cover it up, but I just want you to see what I'm looking at and what I'm thinking about. So if I erase some of these lines, you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I'm probably going to change this mouth. The mouth should flatten out a little more. The mouth was too low. See how I just changed that? Now, portraiture is one of the hardest things to do. And I suggest that artists train with a portrait artist if you want to do portraiture. I'm raising everything up on the mouth. Just a little bit, just slightly raising it up. The teeth, I'm raising the teeth up, make the teeth a little bit closer. Bottom lip, just slightly. So what we have now, this is kind of like the foundation. I really want his cheeks. So when I thought about drawing this, his eyes go up a little bit like that, a little bit more slanted. When I thought about drawing this, I was thinking, I was just attracted to his cheeks. And that's my purpose for drawing this. So, and that's why you see me keep going back to these cheeks, trying to get the feel of it. Okay. Now I move this eye in, and I shouldn't have. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to measure this. So this eye should be a little bit lower, about right there. See, that's my stigmatism. I don't see things level. So any handicap that you have should not stop you from anything that you want to do in life. Matter of fact, it should help you. Your handicap can actually help you to be successful in life, because you end up doing things a little bit different. This is a traditional way I'm showing you how to draw this, but I don't actually do my drawings this way. When I draw, I start with the eyes. I don't draw the cheeks. I don't draw these shapes. I just start with the left eye, and I go from there. Okay. I'm going to clean this up some, erase some of this. I know my paper's all messed up, all screwed up. I'll get it straight. Still didn't bring that eye down far enough. Okay, that's the top of it. Okay. See how I'm making changes? Now I want this picture. Now we're going into the unknown here, okay? So now I'm going to use my techniques, and I was thinking today that in a lot of our art, I'm going to show you, a lot of times I'm going to show you some basic techniques, and then I'm going to use my technique. So let's start with this flesh tone. It's sort of like a light pink. I think it's called, excuse me. Excuse me. I don't see the name of this color. Anyway. I'm going to first put some of this color in the eyes, the whites of the eyes. I'm going to put this flesh tone. I may go back later with white. Now I'm going to put some highlights. I'm going to use this as highlights on the face. Under the eyebrow, the left eyebrow, in the corner of the right eyebrow. I'm probably going to lower this right eyebrow later. So this right side of his face is going to be more in shadow. Then the left side of his face, put some more flesh tones. Remember I said I'm problem solving? I'm going to lightly, you see how I lightly sketch this in? Because we're going to do some overlays. Where here is a little bit darker, and we can go back later. But here, on the left side of your picture, I allow some paper to show through. This is the underdrawing, okay? You actually could do the whole drawing. Let's leave this part of the nose white, and then trace a little bit under here. I'm just trying to put some highlights. Cheeks, put some highlights on his cheeks, put some underneath this eye, maybe a little bit underneath this eye, put a few on his cheeks here. Underneath his nose, like I say, normally I wouldn't use pencil. I should have told you that you could have sprayed your drawing too, but a lot of people don't have spray, so we didn't spray the drawing. Let's trace the bottom of his lip with this. I'm putting a little bit on the top of the lip. See, I'm putting this everywhere I think I wanted his skin to be a little lighter. We're going to use some right here where the skin folds around his jaw. Put a little bit. Put some on his cheek. Now what I want you to do, so I press down harder here on this cheek. The bridge of his nose, I'm pressing down a little bit harder. The middle of his nose between his eyes. Let's even draw this eyelid, color that in with this, the eyelid. Underneath the eyebrow. And now what I want you to do is just kind of, we're going to leave this side of the face, but let's kind of fill in lightly. But leave this part of the nose, the tip of the nose, just white paper. You see that? When you're drawing, it's kind of weird, but you see I'm using my drawing, and can you see the face beginning to emerge a little bit? Let's do the ear. And just for the inside of this ear, we'll do that. We haven't taught anybody how to draw ears yet, so don't worry about it. We're just training you to see right now for this semester of classes. We're just training you to see. It takes time to learn some things. Rome wasn't built in a day, so we may go back to use this later. Let's use some yellow just for fun. And I know I'm going to have to speed up a little bit. We're trying to build up the top of his head. I'm going to put a little yellow in here. You can always go back and play this. So the side of his face, the top of his head, I want a little bit more color. So I'm going to use yellow. This part of his jaw, his left cheek rather, I'm going to put a little yellow here. I'm trying to express something here, and it's trying to express what I'm feeling when I look at this picture. Putting a little yellow in this part of his cheek. I'm changing the pressure that I'm applying to the paper. A little yellow here. I just want to change up this color a little bit. Okay. I could put a little yellow on his teeth, but I won't because you'll probably laugh at that. Now, that's good. Now I'm going to go for some red. Don't worry. Now, if you press too hard, kids, and you have to be light-handed. Don't press so hard. the side of his head, I'm going to lightly put some red in. I'm going to go over this red later. I'm going to trace his ear with some red. The lines I already have for the ear. And then what the red is going to stand out. Now you could blend the red with your hand. You could get your eraser and blend it like that. But you don't have to blend. You may decide you want to blend. This part of the head, it stands out a little bit. Lightly put some red here. I'm actually coloring this different than I thought I was going to. Put some red under here. And don't be afraid. Side of his nose. Because we don't know what this is going to look like yet. Now leave your drawing. Remember, I'm always telling you, you're going to need your drawing. So I'm not pressing down heavy with this red. I just want some show that his face is going to be kind of red. We're going to use brown in a minute. Red on this cheek here, right here. We're going to use brown. We're going to go back with this flesh tone as well. We may go back with some yellow. Now, this is what I have to do right now. Let's put some red on his bottom lips. And then we're going to use some pink, a little red on the bottom lips. Now get pink. You guys do have pink. And for his tongue, we're going to put some pink in here. It's going to mix with the black chalk. Use pink on his lips too. Rub that in. I'm going to put a little pink here. So we're going to use brown and we're going to use black. I'm going to start with that now because we don't have that much time. Okay, now get your brown. We're going to start on the right side of the face. Let's go ahead and trace this line here. Trace his ear. Trace his jaw. Let's go ahead. You know what we're going to do? We're going to trace his eyes. I'm going to color in his eyeballs with brown. Then we're going to go back with black later. Trace his eyelids. We're going to go back with black later. In the corner of his eye, there's going to be some brown. We're using all pastels. Corner of this eye, there's going to be some brown. Now you can blend. I'll show you about the blending, but you don't have to blend with this. Now we're going to draw the shadows on the side of his face in brown. I'm following the shape of his face here. I'm not doing marks straight up and down. My marks are coming from the side. And when I get to the red, look what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw lightly so the red shows through. Now you can blend. You can use your eraser to blend this. See that? Lightly put some more brown on this side of his face. I'm going to draw in the corner of his eye. We're going to use black in a few minutes. Draw the shape of his cheek here. See that curve right there? Trace your drawing with the brown. Trace the nose. In other words, your pencil lines. Trace your pencil lines with the brown. I'm even going to trace the eyebrows. We'll go back with black in a couple of minutes. So we're just setting this picture up now. I was going to do this picture a different way, and I still may end up doing that way if we have time. Trace the mouth. Teeth. You don't need to trace every little detail. You already have pencil lines, so just use the lines you already have on there to trace it. And under his neck is going to be dark brown. It's going to end up being black, but we're going to color it in brown. So if you try to blend this with your hands, you can't do it, but you can blend it with the pastel itself. I'm going to color that in. Now, this watercolor paper, you can see it leaves, you can see the paper through it. Leaves these little spots. And that's why we use the eraser to blend. You don't have to blend, though. I blend lightly on the ear, and you get a light brown. Now, I'm going to use a part of my eraser that's a little bit more clean. Well, that's not too clean. So you can clean your eraser with your paper towel. I want you to blend. Make sure your eraser is clean, though. Blend the face. We're going to go back over the face in a minute, but I want you to blend it first. Just to make things look a little smoother, blend the entire face. And when I get ready to finish this, it's going to be pretty quick. Just blend everything. Notice I keep cleaning my eraser. I'm just blending. So you should end up with a fuzzy drawing. When you finish blending, your drawing should be kind of fuzzy. Think of yourself as painting. We use, a lot of times when I'm drawing with pastel, I'll use the term paint instead of draw, because pastels, all pastels are considered painting. So you see how I'm blending? I'm thinking about the landmarks of the face, which we haven't talked about. That's a lot we haven't talked about. Because we're doing a little bit at a time. If your eyes get trained to see, that's going to go a long way. Okay, so I'm just making things look a little smoother. Cool. Okay, now watch what's going to happen we may not get a chance to do the shirt and the suit. I don't know. We'll do it quick, maybe, but not now. I want to finish this face. Okay, when you get everything blended, I'm actually going to put a little brown on this side of his face. Put a little more detail on his nose. Oops, you can't see what I'm doing, I'm sorry. I'm going back over, you see, I'm going back over with the brown now. Putting the shadows in. There's a shadow that comes here. Use my fingers to blend now because it's faster. Pastel broke. Your pastel break, that's okay, they break. A lot of pastels come short. They're not large. You can see how I'm doing the shadows here. I'm going to darken this area. I'm using my fingers right now to speed things up. I'm going back over the dark areas, make them a little bit more darker. Still sketchy. I'm always using my drawing. My drawing tells me where everything belongs. So never lose your drawing. Even when you're painting, don't use your drawing. Don't lose it. Now I'm going to use the eraser to soften. I'm not worried about his teeth that much. I'm just going to darken the teeth lightly. Use my brown to trace again. So what I'm doing now is layering the pastel. And you could continue layering for hours. And you would continue. I would continue if I was. I need some red here to bring the chin up some. I'm going to blend that red in there. So I want you to see what happens when we add white and black to this. I'm going to try not to run over. So I want you to get a little white. I don't have much white. I just have this. Let's see if I have it in another box. Yeah. Get your white stick. Go in and place white in your eyes. Keep your pastel clean now. I'm going to put a little mark there. Little white highlights. Now what I'm using white to do now is to smooth things out. I'm lightly going over this with white, light, barely touching the paper. I want to smooth it out a little bit. Over the brows. We're going to use black next. And here I'm going to lightly use a little white. I could go back with yellow, I probably will. In the center of his nose, some white. I have to press it down a little bit here because I have a lot of pastel on it. What I want you to do is to keep drawing, even when we go off the air. because the more you layer and go over this, the better it's going to look. Put some white in his teeth, but not much. Pink for the tongue. Let's go and get the flesh tone again. Just a layer of flesh tone. You may not even be able to see it. I'm just going over this with flesh tone. Now, I want you to see what happens when we begin to add a little black to it. I'm still tracing my drawing. Draw the eyebrows. Everywhere where there's dark and you don't see much light, I'm putting the shadows in with the black. Drawing the ear. I'm going to turn this to the side. This is basically ending another day, another class. I'm using the side of my pastel so you can see the brown underneath. Drawing lightly so the pastels can show through. Now I'm going to use white again to finish this and show you, like if I use dark white here, let's do a light highlight here, here, and here. Do some, whoops, white on the head. I had some black on that. Just wipe it off and do it again. Turn it around. So as you put the highlights in, it brings it out even more. The background you could make dark. And you're going to have a buildup of pastels. And what that tells you to do is keep layering. You could draw this over and over again for the next hour. You know, you'll use blue. We're not going to finish it. We're not going to finish the shirt or anything, but I'm just going to sketch. And you could do a dark background if you wanted to. Put your name on it. But so you can put any color in the background that you want to. I'm just going to do that for the face too. Okay, the clock on the wall says it's time to go. So thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this little experiment, and keep working on your picture. Go back and remember, you just keep layering and you'll build this picture up. And remember, until next time, I hope that you all have a good weekend. Join me on Saturday. But remember, art is for everyone.